Hello, everybody, and welcome to Escape the Galaxy Episode 4. This is the Escapist new Star Wars-centric show talking everything Star Wars. This week, we are focusing on the Bad Batch Episode 3 Replacements. My name is Marty. I am one of your hosts, and I like my Star Wars to have 50% childhood wonder and really coming-of-age stories, and also 50% the Empire committing genocide.
I'm Omar Ahmed, and I am slaughtering unarmed civilians, brought to you by Disney.
I'm Nick Galandro, and I don't like sand.
Welcome, everybody. Nick is filling in for Rachel this week. Rachel had a family emergency, so we wish her the best, and we hope to have her back soon. But yeah, like I said, today we are talking about Bad Batch Episode 3, Replacements, which just debuted this morning on Disney+. And I guess my, just going over like a really brief like Twitter review of the episode is I really like how the Bad Batch is filling in a bunch of small question marks I had about the time period in between the prequels and the original trilogy in a way that I didn't think we were ever going to get.
I also really enjoyed that aspect of the episode. I thought everything with Crosshair and the Empire's dismantling of the clone institution and all the factories and how they're transitioning to stormtroopers, I thought that was really interesting. And honestly, I thought that should have been the whole episode. Just make an episode about Crosshair, because everything about the Bad Batch in this episode was really blah.
Yeah, I agree. I was actually I was curious based on the first two episodes how they were going to justify the use of clone. Like, they were trying to do it money, but I mean, it's like the Empire, they have all the money in the world, what do they care? So now that they're like talking about loyalty and giving people, you know, the things they need, and we'll create a better soldier out of that, because one of the scenes is where the guy is like, the Empire, he justifies joining the Empire because they put a roof over his head and gave him money to do this.
Yeah, and he says that's something the Republic never gave him. So it is interesting to see, like, oh, some people's lives are better under the Empire, although he ended up dying in 2 scenes later. But still, for those few scenes, his life was better.
Yeah, the only question I have is though, like, the clones can be programmed, so why is loyalty a thing when they can just be told what to do and unquestionable?
Yeah,
that kind of confuses me.
Yeah, I feel like they're going to have to. They keep sort of veering towards like concrete answers for these things, but you don't know specifically, because it is part of it. They said, oh, it can be the clones are really expensive, or man, like the Jango Fett model, like that's kind of getting old. That's like, you're running Windows 95 here. Like what's going on? And then at the same time, they were talking about how like the humans who actually sign up, to be ultimately what stormtroopers would be, have a form of loyalty that a clone doesn't have, which is weird to me because Order 66 would be the ultimate form of loyalty, because they flipped the switch and 99.9% of the clones started, murdering their friends next to them.
Yeah, I mean, that was like the really cool thing about what the Clone Wars show did for the clone troopers as characters and the concept of Order 66, because he established all these characters that are like, they're more than just droids. They have personalities and motivations. They have wants and needs, and they're more than the robots that they're shooting across the field. But then you flip the switch and suddenly they're not. And they commit the atrocities that the Empire wants them to. But now I guess that's not good enough for the Empire. So they need to get a bunch of people who, wear buckets and can't shoot.
Yeah.
I think maybe part of it is like kind of what you said, what you brought up was the, Jango Fett thing is getting old, and it's not as usable anymore. And, he was like, they're taking his DNA and he's like bred for war kind of guy. So maybe they're just not finding well, that's what they're already talking about this episode, that we need a better specimen to one up the conscripts that they want to bring in.
Yeah, you get that in that there's still a mystery over what I think Lama Su and Lama Se, I don't know if I got either of those names right, but the two Kaminoans who pop up all the time in the prequels and Clone Wars, talking about how they sort of they understand what the Empire is doing and how they almost need to start secretly developing a different kind of clone, and it seems like they're hinting at that Omega was sort of the, her name literally being like the Greek for the end of the alphabet for the ending, that she was sort of the end of that line of clones and the start of whatever new would be happening. So it is interesting that it seems like they want Omega for whatever their plan ultimately is, which seems like it could be like a clone uprising, which has been done before, I think, in Legends, but we, I don't know if that's actually that's not canon, I guess, right now.
Yeah. And again, while this is something I think is interesting, I feel like this is another dead end for this show because none of this stuff exists in the original trilogy,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
None of this. So, like, even if they make the most advanced clone, it's not gonna, we know how the story ends.
Yeah, and it's... Oh, no, I was just going to say it's tough because, like, the clones in the Clone Wars cartoon are, like, really good soldiers. Like, they're like, really, like, they're accurate and they're agile and, like, they take orders and everything, whereas, like, the Stormtroopers have never been, like, anything but klutzes. Like, they've never, like, aside from the Dark Troopers, like, or the Death Troopers, there've never been any sort of intimidating Stormtrooper.
Yeah.
I think that's kind of where the dots connect those, like, just... we never saw the clones in the original trilogy, so I think this show's just going to answer the question: where did they go? What happened?
Yeah.
Whether they were deactivated or like genocided off or what?
Yeah, or maybe those two Kaminoans like purposely sabotage it and saying like we don't want our clones to be a part of this anymore, and so they have no choice but to resort to humans.
Yeah, it's almost more like the story of Kamino.
Yeah, that is interesting. I'm surprised how much of it seems like that's going to be like the anchor planet we keep going to, like while the clones are sort of planet of the week, adventure of the week kind of thing. What's happening on Kamino seems like the thing that is kind of the all roads are going to eventually lead back to Kamino, which is interesting. But I did like, I do agree that some of the stuff with the Bad Batch themselves felt, again, like retreads of stuff we've seen time and time again, not just in Star Wars, but in pretty much anything. I liked seeing the ship, the malfunctions jostle it out of hyperspace. Like, I don't know if that's something I've ever seen in Star Wars of like malfunction screwing them up and like what happens when you go from, traveling at the speed of light to grinding to a halt. I thought that was pretty neat.
I think that also happened in Rebels, where they shoot somebody out of hyperspace. They had
a tractor beam that pulled them out of hyperspace.
Right, yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
And it does set up, I think one of the lingering mysteries for me in this episode is you got Wrecker after that. He's complaining constantly about his head. And he's rubbing the exact spot where the inhibitor chips are. And I'm like, oh no, that's Chekhov's head injury. That's not going to be good. Yeah. And so at the same time, you have Tech working on, instead of fixing the ship, he's working on the device that can teach them more about the inhibitor chip. And he's like, this is the most important thing right now. And so, and Tech has on the show, he has a long history of being a couple steps ahead of everyone and not explaining like what those steps are to his own detriment. So I have a feeling, like we talked about last week, that Wrecker is going to be the next one who starts like Crosshair suffering from some sort of inhibitor chip, not even malfunction, like function.
Well, you can see that coming from a mile away because they're humanizing him and everything, and how the tragic tale of everybody finding their humanity in Star Wars and then getting offed.
Yeah. I thought it was
sweet. Like Wrecker better in this episode than I did previously. They leaned less on him just being, a stupid, bloodthirsty maniac. Mm-hmm. So.
Yeah, and they are, I think our initial fear that everyone was going to be so one-dimensional, like, Tech, you're the zany nerd, and Wrecker, you're like the wacky tough guy, and Omega's the precocious child. I feel like Omega could so easily be an annoying kid, and Star Wars kind of does have a history of bratty annoying kids, like not only Anakin but like early Ahsoka and early Ezra.
Early Ezra just drove me up the wall.
Whereas like Omega just seems like genuinely like sweet and helpful and curious, and also obviously mysterious to like what are her powers and is she force sensitive, like what's going on here. So pretty quickly I've like really warmed up to Omega quicker than I thought I would.
Yeah, I like that she's not just useless either. Like she's figuring out things on her own. They're not having to just take care of her all the time and save her. Like she saves herself. It's not. I feel like that is different. She's just not baggage that they're having to drag along. She's actually, like they're saying, part of the squad.
Yeah.
And we had that theory a while ago that she might be like an amalgamation of all the Bad Batch powers combined. And now in this episode, they demonstrate her, tracking like Hunter can.
Yeah, absolutely. And like sort of the way she dealt with that, like when she went to a little like dragon hole, and the way she dealt with it felt like a kind of a tech solution of like, oh, the little dragon guy's just like attracted to the energy. So if I give him this other thing, this flashlight, he'll be fine with that. And so
I think the connection to the Force might be there too, just so based on her reaction to the monster, because she didn't immediately go to kill it.
Yeah, we've talked about like
you need the Force for that?
Everyone doesn't have to have the Force. Like I understand that
she could just have the power of empathy.
Yeah.
It could be that, but I mean, like anytime there's like beasts in the Clone Wars or Rebels or whatever, and somebody shows some type of connection to it. I mean, especially because they focus on like the eyes of the beast looking at her.
Yeah,
and there's some connection there, and they do that a lot in Rebels.
And they did that Rey and the they do it a ton in Rebels, and Rey did that in Rise of Skywalker. I promise we're not going to talk more about. Yeah, we won't talk more about Rise of Skywalker, but Rey does it with a weird ground snake. And it is. The other interesting moment was when I could view this one of two ways. When they say, oh, we need to find our replacement part. She's like, what's in here? Is it this? And then she immediately pulls out the locker that's belonged to Crosshair. And you get, it was Wrecker Hunter saying like, all right, I'm going to be the one to say it. I miss him. And they start talking about, we do miss, like, this was our brother in arms. We absolutely miss him. And Tech says, like, this wasn't him. This was, like, the inhibitor chip and everything. So it almost felt like she knew that locker was Crosshair's, and that she brought it out in order to, like we kind of joked about it, but, like, if empathy is her power, like, she's kind of their therapist. And she's like, let me bring this out, and you will all talk about your feelings and talk about the fact that you just went through something tragic with Crosshair.
Yeah, that exchange about Crosshair in that scene was kind of strange to me, where they're like, or where she's like, it wasn't his fault, it was his inhibitor chip. I mean, in the first episode, they established that they've learned about the inhibitor chips, what they do and what they did to all the clones, and that they have defective ones. And I guess they just didn't draw the line between Crosshair having an inhibitor chip and him wanting to, execute Order 66.
Yeah. Hey, but he did get to go back and kill those civilians. Saw Gerrera's civilians, so.
Let's talk about this scene, because that was far darker than I thought this show would go.
That was crazy.
Like, it's not, I mean, the show, Clone Wars and Rebels both got pretty dark with civilian deaths, but not like just straight up execution in front of you kind of thing.
Yeah. So it seemed like this was a part of when Tarkin was talking to Admiral Rampart, who's the guy we saw last week in the hologram. Yeah. He mentioned Project War Mantle, which was apparently also one of the projects that Jin and Cassian Andor find when they go near the end of Rogue One, when they're looking for the plans for the Death Star. They name off a couple different projects they're finding in that reactor, and one of them is Project War Mantle. The Death Star one was Project Stardust. There's one called Mark Omega, and then one called Black Saber, which, I mean, Black Saber seems like it has something to do with the Dark Saber or how Moff Gideon got it, but the Mark Omega one is, I don't know how far in advance they were planning this stuff, but just hearing the word Omega used in another Star Wars movie was kind of interesting.
Somebody in the comments on your guys' last week episode was talking about that the stone that Omega has as maybe being a kyber crystal too.
Interesting.
And
I think it was what it's this. I think the same jewelry that, again, Lama Su or Nala Se, who again, literally possibly not even the names of either of those characters. One of them was also wearing it, so I think it was just kind of like her wearing her surrogate mother's jewelry. Yeah.
Well, I think it's interesting how the series though has, like, not the Bad Batch yet, but like Rebels in general too, like, and even the Clone Wars, like, really explored like the origins of kyber crystals, and like that they're all over the place, and like Geonosis was like the home of the building of the Death Star. Rebels never confirms it, but they say it's there. That's what they were working on.
I mean, the kyber crystals are usually in the shows like big green crystals. So that's not what her head jewel thing is.
I mean, it could have just been I don't know, like a little like a whatever the geode version of a kyber crystals.
Okay. I don't know. It's just something in the comments says. So I don't know. I personally, I think she has some connection to the Force, and I think that's an interesting arc for them to explore. Like, can you because the Force is only supposed to be the Force is in all living beings. Yeah. What do you consider a clone? Is it a living being, or is it a sentient? Not, and I think that's the interesting part. Like the clones themselves too is like, giving them humanity that they didn't have before. And
but we do know like Force sensitivity is genetic, obviously from like Anakin to Luke and Leia to Kylo and everyone, and even in the Legends books. And
so and they're talking about these new super soldiers. Like, to me, that's like, okay, the only thing better than Jango Fett as like the top soldier is some clone that can use the Force.
Mm-hmm.
Which is just unstoppable kind of
thing. Which obviously again, that has to have some sort of a bow tied on it by the time the original trilogy hits.
Was that? Remind me, did they explore that in the Force the Force Unleashed, Starkiller is a clone.
Right, and that had some similar genocide as well, but
I just don't want to believe that Omega is Force sensitive, because I'm kind of tired of everybody being a Jedi, or a story about surrogate parents taking care of a Force sensitive child. I just want them to do something interesting aside from her having a connection to the Force.
Also, you should be able in the Star Wars universe to be special without being Force sensitive. Like, they should be able to be special for other reasons. Like, they do have cool powers. Like, Hunter's got like a literal like a hunter and everything, and Crosshair has crazy accuracy. So
that's true. I still think it's an interesting arc if they were able to clone Force users. Like, that's another super weapon for the Empire that maybe luckily never happened.
I mean, that's the idea.
We said we weren't going to bring it up. What are you about to bring up? Are you about to bring up
the movie that shall not be named?
So
that's the entire idea of that thing.
The vein is popping in my head.
Nick, you just brought the conversation. I feel like we haven't really brought it up at all since the first episode. So you bring out the Rise of Skywalker in all of us.
I mean,
they have to fix the sequel trilogy somehow.
I don't know how much duct tape you need to fix that.
And not to get into that, but I mean, like, I still think like they're gonna find a way. I mean, like, the Clone Wars kind of redeemed the prequel trilogy.
Really.
In some way, like, they're gonna find a way to do that for the sequel trilogy and expand on it in a better way.
Yeah, which maybe is Mando already doing that? Like, is Mando already on that path?
Kind of what Mando's aiming to do with
and all those
talk about
like
clones and everything,
Sure, and all the obviously you're having the Ahsoka show, which will tie in, assumingly, her journey to find Ezra, leading her to Thrawn and everything. So that'll be interesting. But that sort of that genocide on the with Saw Gerrera's partisans was wild. Yeah, I was not expecting that on the third episode of a Star Wars animated show. So that was was pretty crazy.
Rebels got into that quite a bit with his arc about why he was pretty much going on terrorist routes. Is because of just how much damage the Empire caused to him and everybody he knew. And I mean. So this it's kind of interesting that we're finally getting that backstory. Like, why did this guy just go off the deep end, kind of thing?
Yeah, and it's cool to see his arc from when he's introduced to he's introduced as this like super young freedom fighter who was it Anakin and Obi-Wan help him sort of set up, or Anakin and Ahsoka or something, train them, and then to see him come back in Rebels where he's like kind of grizzled and like a little crazy, to obviously by the time he's in Rogue One he's boogling and he's going full crazy. Boogalit. And that final line that Crosshair says before he shoots him is he says good soldiers follow orders. Like, that's like a really creepy like Manchurian Candidate kind of thing. I thought that was really cool.
It seems like they're gonna really go down that why are these conscripted soldiers like so okay with doing all this stuff, and it almost seems like they're going to be doing it out of fear, because just from the clone commanders willing to kill them on the spot because they don't have, they have the chips and they don't care.
And Star Wars has never been shy about being like a World War II allegory, and so you're seeing that with the Dawn of the Empire as well. I think
it would be really interesting if the show kind of delved into the humanity of stormtroopers. And how their relationship to their commanders and their orders is, because I mean, I guess it's been tried before with like Finn in Force Awakens, but they never really got too much into it because like Finn just became his own person. Not really too representative of the rest of the stormtroopers that he also willingly shoots.
They've been exploring that a lot lately, because they explored that in the Star Wars Squadrons game too.
Absolutely,
and Battlefront too.
Which I saw some people thinking that when they show Crosshair's new little gang of who I assume are going to ultimately be Death Troopers, one people thought was Iden Versio, but like the age just doesn't line up to me at all. Like this would have been 25 years before the Battle of Endor, so which is where she enters that game. So yeah, I just think it was a different character, which they're allowed to just have several characters. Star Wars has lots of characters.
Rise of Skywalker?
Are you bringing up Rise of Skywalker again?
Nope. Well, Omar said he watched something else, and I was like, Omar, you can watch Rise of Skywalker as many times as you want, but it's never going to be good.
Yeah.
So.
We're actually, the show is now going to be, every episode's going to be about a single minute of Rise of Skywalker, and we're going to have it's going to be like 130 episodes to get through it.
We should do one of those where like fans recreate movies by shooting 10 seconds at a time and stitching it together, but just recreate.
Jack just talked about a Shrek one. Apparently they did in Wisconsin. So if they could do it for Shrek, they could do it for Rise of Skywalker.
Might as well.
People would probably pay you guys to not talk about Rise of Skywalker.
But Omar, you did say you watched something else Star Wars this week.
I did.
What was that?
Everybody should watch, and this is on Disney Plus, so everybody who has Disney Plus has access to this. Star Wars Ewoks.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
Darren's going to be so happy.
Yeah.
Star Wars Ewoks, the not the movies, the animated series.
Okay. I haven't seen the animated series. I've seen the movies.
Horrible, disgusting animated series from the 80s that might have one of the worst opening themes I've ever heard for any show ever.
Incredible. So I remember
watch it just to hear that.
They
just watch the first like 20 seconds.
Didn't the Ewok show come out? There was the same time there was like a Droids cartoon as well.
Yeah, there was a Droids
and
cartoon. I actually watched that as a kid.
I think one of the dudes from the Police who wasn't Sting did the theme song of Droids, which I don't know why that's like lodged in my head, so it totally might not be true, but we'll just say it's true. The guy from the Police who isn't Sting. Yeah.
Yeah, we have a platform to sspread lies.
Exactly. But as long as I admit I don't know what I'm talking about, it's fine.
Editor checking in. No, we don't.
That's really good.
But yeah.
I was genuinely, I thought you were going to bring something exciting, and you brought something incredible to the table.
I mean, it is fascinating.
Yeah.
In that it's not interesting or exciting at all. It's really like hard to look at because the animation is so bad, and also all the characters talk like the Chipmunks albums. They talk like Alvin and the Chipmunks.
Do the Ewoks talk? Do they speak?
They
like
sure
English?
do.
No, they sure do.
Wicket, the main Ewok from Return of the Jedi. He's obviously our main character, and the first episode is about how Wicket gets in trouble because they play a very frowned upon game called Drop the Sack, where they drop sacks of mud onto other Ewoks.
Yeah, I mean that just sounds like bullying,
right?
That doesn't sound like a game at all. That sounds like just cruel hazing.
Hey, I mean, I wasn't there in the 80s when this was on TV, but you know there were only 4 channels on TV, so you watched what you could. So.
If you were in a fraternity in the 80s, you also probly played Drop the Sack with your fellow pledges.
That's a bit different.
Is that the prelude to teabagging?
Oh no, it wasn't. Drop the Sack. The Ewoks created teabagging. You heard it here first. That's incredible. Any final thoughts on this episode of Bad Batch, or even where you think and or hope the show will be going forward, Nick?
I think it's really going to start exploring. What's his name? The sniper guy.
Crosshair.
Yeah, I keep thinking Snapshot. I think they're really going to start exploring Crosshair and his humanity, because he seemed to be. First, they showed him entering the room and kind of looking around at the mementos, and also like seeing there's other people in here, and that's weird for him. And I think like maybe he's playing the part with the chip, and that it's not as effective as they think it is.
Yeah.
Because like if he was just following orders, would he have really turned around and just killed the stormtrooper? You know?
Yeah. It's man, I think if they really wanted to do a bait and switch, they'd be able to either, whether Crosshair is like playing the long con, or if they manage to go in and fix his chip, Crosshair becomes good and then Wrecker becomes bad. Like if they like flip the script and by the middle of the show or by the end of the season that like one of the one of the clones that we totally didn't expect to break bad does. So that'd be interesting.
I feel like that's more in line with Tech.
Yeah,
he knows too much. And he can twist things to his advantage. But yeah, I mean, I think they're really going to explore Crosshair and him finding a way to break free of the chip, or finding his humanity again, or something like that. And I do think like you guys are on the mark about like Bad Batch basically being Halo Reach by the end of it.
Yep.
Clones falling one by
100%.
one because they're not anywhere in the other stuff.
They're not long for this galaxy, certainly.
So,
No.
But yeah, like mostly though, as far as I'm concerned, like I don't know how many episodes I'm going to be here for, but I'm not like, I like the Bad Batch, but to me, this whole show is like setting up like a video game for them from EA or something like that, because they have all the attributes to be, a 4-person team or whatever, or a 5-person co-op shooter or something like that.
I'm gonna be honest. If this season ended and they just said, "And now the game is available," I'd be down with that.
It'd be kind of cool.
Yeah.
It's gonna be on EA playing Game Pass, but
sounds great. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
As far as the rest of it goes, though, like I'm much more interested in like just seeing kind of like what you guys were talking about last week, like the shift from the Clone Wars to the Empire stage, and seeing how the Empire actually forms, and because like for them to build a Death Star and blow up entire planets, entire civilizations of innocent people on it, like something has to really happen in between that time for them to be like, we need to go this far now.
Yeah. Stuff has to get crazy in the next, like 18 years.
Yeah, because like at the start of this show, they're still talking about order and lawfulness, and like that's why they want the conscripted soldiers to install order across all the planets. Mm-hmm. They're not just talking about installing fear yet. And I think that's where the show is going to go, is from lawfulness to order to fear.
Yeah.
Which is true, yeah.
And I think Saw Gerrera is going to have a big part in making... I think Saw Gerrera is part of the reason why they make the Death Star. Because
like it's a sort of like escalation.
Yeah.
To be fair, they did show the building of the Death Star at the end of episode 3. I don't know how far past...
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Oh, yeah, literally on Camino. Don't you see like or was it on Camino or Mustafar?
No, I think they're just hanging out in space on a Star Destroyer, and Darth Vader looks out the window of the Death Star.
So then my predictions are way off then.
Yeah.
Even, well, I guess, maybe not so much. Like, I still feel like up until New Hope, like it was a last resort thing, because I don't know if Alderaan's the first planet they destroy, but again, there isn't I might be getting my plans mixed. Is Saw Gerrera on Alderaan right now? Is that where they keep going back to?
No.
Onderon.
What's the planet?
Onderon, which sounds exactly like on Alderaan. So I only know that because I watch with subtitles. So
yep, I wanted to confirm that, because I was like,
in Star Wars, what?
Yeah,
I was like, this world doesn't look like Alderaan.
Yeah, it's not exploded.
How's he here?
Yeah,
Onderon, which was in KOTOR 2, I think.
Oh, interesting.
Pretty sure, yeah.
I don't remember that.
So it's another KOTOR reference.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then anything from you, Omar? Any last thoughts?
My predictions, I mean, obviously Wrecker's gonna go bad, and that's gonna happen. They're gonna have to deal with that. I just hope the show gets back on track, because the most interesting part of this story was the B plot, not the A plot about our titular Bad Batch. So I just want to get back to some more focused episodes, which go ahead.
No. I was just gonna say, I feel like it kind of veered on the track you wanted this week with Crosshair, so maybe it
true. Yeah,
stays on that track.
Which is why I wanted the entire episode to just be about Crosshair, because that's way more interesting. I don't care about them fixing their ship. I mean, I get it. They're replacing the clones and they're replacing parts on the ship. I get that. And the episode's called Replacements.
Replacements. Yeah.
I mean, gotta remember, it's still a kids show.
Yeah. It's also
a show with genocide.
But that's like the weird part about like their animated shows. They can't seem to decide who the audience is for.
Yeah.
Is it for the audience that's grown up with Star Wars? Because we're getting all this backstory that like fans of the kids of the sequel trilogy have no idea what anything's going on.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So like I wish they'd pick a lane and stay in it. If you're gonna explore the darkness of the Empire Rising, like get into the nitty gritty of that. And I guess the live shows are probably going to do that more, but
yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's also watching the animated show like week to week in real time is a little different for me because I didn't get into Clone Wars until a couple months before season 7. So I watched the first 6 seasons, over the course of a few months and could watch them at my leisure. And if I didn't like an episode, I'd just be like, well, all right, I'll have a new one tomorrow. And then the same way with Rebels. And so it's week to week with like with a short 20-25 minute runtime, it in a world where those Marvel shows are all like 55 minutes, it almost feels like just like a little morsel, and you kind of want more, which is I guess just what TV used to be like. I guess
a lot of filler episodes.
Yeah. So
I do think like this show though, aside from maybe Rebels, is still a lot more focused in following like one continuous story path.
Oh,
it's not verging off into all these different directions like Clone Wars.
Yeah, which understandably, because Clone Wars was literally about the Clone Wars, so it showed you like every single angle that you could possibly imagine of what was going on in the galaxy at this time.
But even Rebels though, like had a lot of like filler, extra side mission episode kind of things, and this one's at least staying like you have like almost had Path A with the Bad Batch and Path B with Kamino, and we're sticking on that. I don't see them diverging, and you kind of have Path C forming with Crosshair and his group now. It'll be interesting to see if they break up the core Bad Batch at all and have a couple episode arc where Hunter and Echo are together, and then Tech.
I'm fully expecting an episode where Omega gets separated and goes on an adventure with Hondo and Naka.
I'm hoping that you keep bringing up Hondo. I really want Hondo to come back. I was worried you were going to say. Show. I was worried that you were going to say, and then makes her way to Endor and plays Drop Sack or whatever the hell that game was. Oh, it turns out she's in the background of the Ewok cartoon. Didn't realize it.
I would love that.
She's in the bushes.
She's in the bushes.
So many unsuspecting Star Wars fans would then have to watch the Ewoks cartoon.
That would be
to get caught up.
Man, imagine how smart Disney would be if you're like, that thing you forgot about when you were a kid? Well, it's canon now.
It's canon now.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much for joining us. Thank you for staying tuned and watching. Omar, where can people find you? What kind of stuff you've been working on?
I've been working on the stuff I usually work on. So the Escapist show in the frame.
What are you working on, Omar? Are you working?
No.
I'm working right now. And of course, the upcoming Spiritfarer documentary I'm working on as well. Mm-hmm. And so you can find all my stuff here on the Escapist, and you can find me on Twitter where I never tweet at Mr. Yomars. That's MrYomarz.
Beautiful. Nick, what you working on? Where can people find you?
I'm working on everything and everything. You can find me on Twitter at NickJCal for my bad hot takes, and also KC is still not the Souls champ. It's me.
Wow, incredible.
Every time he's not here to defend himself, I'm going to take the
shot across the bow. A marvelous escape. You're starting a feud, a blood feud. Good. Hatfields and McCoys.
Yes.
We didn't sign up for this. Rachel, come back.
I'm here to stir the shit.
And then you can find me at McBiggity on Twitter. We have a couple embargoed things coming up. We can't talk about exactly what games, but in the next week or two, we'll have a lot of impressions of a couple cool upcoming games. And then in a couple weeks will be E3, so we'll have a bunch of fun stuff then. Right, Nick?
I need a beer. I'm not ready for E3.
That's what you're supposed to say after. That's like the Friday after E3.
No, it's the night before, and then you go in and you're like, "This is hell. Let me drink more."
It'll be fun. So yeah, we'll have a lot more on those plans, both on the website escapist.com as well as our YouTube and our Twitch. So follow us for stream almost every day. And we appreciate the support. We appreciate the super chats. We appreciate the comments. So for Omar and Nick, my name is Marty. This has been Escape the Galaxy, Episode 4. See you all next week.